Hey, Bills Mafia, what's up? I struggled with yesterday's game. I struggled with putting this post up because I had some thoughts after yesterday's game. I really wanted to let that whole situation simmer for a little while before I commented on it. And maybe heard some thoughts around, Bills Mafia, on the radio, etc. And it really kind of settled in with me this morning listening to the radio. And one of the things that happened yesterday that really bothered me, I'm going to tell you what really bothered me. And it's been bothering me. It's been bothering a lot of you out there. This team doesn't seem, on offense, doesn't seem to know what it wants to do, what it wants to be, or how to be it successfully. And the biggest thing is they don't have a pivot, right? When that thing that they want to do, that they do want to do, isn't working, what do you do then? You don't have anything to go to. When James Cook is not cooking, what do you go to? Where is your outlet? On every offensive pass play, the quarterback is given these different options, and then he's got an outlet when none of that is there. He's supposed to have an outlet. The Bills don't have an outlet on offense. When James Cook is not running the ball effectively because of whatever, they put more in the box, etc., they don't have anything to go to. And that makes the Bills a one-trick pony. And one-trick ponies don't win Super Bowls. One-trick ponies don't always make the playoffs. And here's my problem. And I was just listening to the radio here in Nashville. And they were talking about the Titans. And I know you're going to go, what does that have to do with the Bills? The Titans have had trouble since forever ago. And they were talking about the comparisons between the Titans and the Patriots. And they mentioned something that hit me. Mike Vrabel got fired from Tennessee because his record was beginning to be cracked, even after a good run. And one of the things that he did in his going on in New England that he didn't do in Tennessee was that he brought in an offensive coordinator who was a great offensive mind and probably isn't going anywhere, Josh McDaniels, right? In Tennessee, he had these string of guys that he promoted and, stood up for in terms of, I'm going to hire this guy. I want this guy to be my guy on defense or offense. And it got me to thinking about the Bills' offense. It got me to thinking, it's kind of what's happening in Buffalo. Sean McDermott, on the side of the ball that he's not a specialist on, same as Mike Vrabel wasn't a specialist on offense here in Nashville. He's got these string of guys that he's promoted since Brian Daboll left. And they have a limited depth of knowledge, a limited amount of experience. Ken Dorsey did not have experience. Joe Brady has some college experience, but his success in college, and somebody brought this up on WGR this morning, his success in college was centered a lot around that team that won the national championship with Justin Jefferson and those guys. So he had all of these weapons. He doesn't have that in Buffalo. Right? So part of the problem is they don't have a pivot. The offensive coordinator may be limited, and Sean McDermott may be stubborn. I think the thing was he didn't really get along with Brian Daboll. But Brian Daboll was a great mind, and he came from outside. Right? And so now that you don't have somebody coming in from the outside, who is Sean McDermott going to depend on in terms of experience? How do you get around this? He doesn't know how. He's not an offensive guy. So how are you going to fix this offense when the person you're depending on to fix the offense, your coach, doesn't have the depth of knowledge and experience in doing that? You know, he doesn't have the, this whole thing isn't working. He's used to stuff working for him at LSU and here in Buffalo. All right, he's used to stuff working for him. And when it doesn't work, what do? He was in Carolina for a little while, but when it didn't work, he got fired. The coaching staff got fired. You know? So that's part of the problem. And I'm going to say this, and I hesitate to say it. The other part of the problem is Brandon Beane. Yes, the whole system that they've developed is the problem right now. Brandon Beane in his trades never getting a bona fide top level, top flight wide receiver when receivers were available, especially in this past draft. When not getting them when they were available is a Brandon Beane problem. It is a arrogance problem. And this is going to be a big thing in Buffalo. How do you fix that? Because right now, they're not doing it. And I'm afraid this is not going to go well. I'm afraid this may not end well. It's a little bit like Andy Reid in Philadelphia, and I've said that before too. Andy Reid's situation in Philadelphia did not end well. And it took them a while to get back on top. But hopefully they'll fix this whole thing. I don't know how. Maybe when Palmer comes back. But they've got to find a way to get these guys open. They've got to find a way to fix this offense. If they don't, it's going to be a long season, and it's probably not going to be a good off season. I said after last season, I said after the season before that Sean McDermott's time in Buffalo should be over. It should be. But Brandon Beane better be careful, because his time may be over too, because you built it to a point, but you got to build it to that next level, and you got to get out of your own way, and you got to stop thinking you know it all. Hopefully they'll do that, but until they do, go Bills.